This month, aka September, was a little weird for the community meeting. I honestly, it just kind of got away from me in terms of things that needed to be done. But then also, just there wasn't much to report on that hadn't been reported on throughout the month. So, mostly this video is going to be me answering some questions that were posted in the community meetings channel. And then, of course, for October, we will be having our community meeting. Um, but I mostly just wanted to make sure I was addressing questions um, in a very precise way without interruption, without me getting sidetracked or distracted. Um, and then there's a couple comments that were made in the community meetings channel that I wanted to address as well, that weren't necessarily questions, but they were comments or feedback, and I absolutely loved it. So let's go ahead and dig in. So, one of the first questions was, what is an approximate estimation of the NPC populace numbers, roaming travelers, riders, and coaches that will be reinstated into the server? Until the rage crashes start becoming less and less, I am very apprehensive on bringing in high numbers of roaming travelers. So, right now, minus the undead event that is currently going on in the server where it replaces all NPC peds that are ambient people um, traveling around, there are people in the state. There are locals in the state. However, I know there's been questions about whether or not we could have peds standing at the bars and standing at certain shops. Yes, however, there is a known issue where over the course of time, for whatever reason, NPC pets will start to float. It's why we no longer have the butchers that stand at the actual butcher racks because they would start floating. I'm sure if you've been out to Flat Neck Station, you've seen the very large gentleman that is just floating in the air for no reason. And it's not because the coordinates are off, it's just because one thing collided with that ped and now it is permanently stuck. I have found a script that will allow us to put stationary peds in certain places like stores, saloons, things like that. I'm just waiting on the rage errors to end because they are a graphics um, error, and adding more and more into the server that can push those graphics will cause more crashes. So after the rage errors are over, plus the NPC undead event is over at the end of October, I will be putting in some of these ambient peds and things will start going back to normal, hopefully. There's nothing we can do about the rage crashes. We have provided workarounds that sometimes work and sometimes don't work. It is just CFX and graphics card companies. Once they push out those new drivers, we have to wait for CFX to catch up. And unfortunately, with RedM not being the golden child of CFX's world, we are just kind of stuck and waiting on their mercy, so to speak. Is feedback for events welcomed, expected, and appreciated? Yes. I am always asking people for feedback, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever, um, because I do take a lot of pride in my events. Um, and I want to know what we're doing good with them and what we're not doing well with them. If so, where and how should one provide these things? The general channel is perfectly fine with that. Also, just creating a ticket. Pretty much anytime you guys have something that you want to provide that will be private, you could create a ticket and only staff will see it. If you don't even want staff to see it and you only want the owners to see it, create a staff report ticket and just put that this is feedback on an event or something, even if it's not a staff report. Um, Once I am done configuring the new ticket system, there will be a suggestions ticket, and within that suggestions ticket, there will be categories like item suggestion, script suggestion, event suggestion, quality of life suggestion, things like that. So we can have it more organized. But yes, definitely give us feedback. Just understand that we are also just limited to what the server and the scripts can do. I am not a from the ground up developer. I can take scripts and modify them enough to make them unique to us, but I can't build from the ground up. Is there a clear spreadsheet on what in game roles are needed to be fulfilled for the server to move forward? There is not, but if that is something that people would like to see, I can absolutely build a spreadsheet for that. However, my concern, and this is something I've mentioned to developers in other servers, this is something I've mentioned to my staff and to CT, my partner and my co-owner, is the minute we start looking at, well, what roles can be filled, people will start saying that they are burned out, that they have lost interest, that there is too much, and then they won't get on, and then it hurts the server more. I'd rather have people RP what they want to RP and us fill in the gaps, because either way, I'm going to end up filling that gap. A good example of this is the doctors. Before we had all the doctors in state, it was just me. And I already play several characters that have significant roles in state, and I don't want to keep doing that. But the more people start dropping out, the more I have to take on, which halts all of my other stuff, including my own RP. So the best thing I can recommend is that if you have an interest in something, RP it. Like, put in the application if it requires an application and RP it. Um, but I can put up a spreadsheet and try to keep that up to date on LEO numbers, criminal numbers, doctor numbers, things like that. If that'll make people more insightful on kind of what is currently in the server. Because I could put numbers all day long, but that does not mean that those people are always there. Um, so the question, I shorthanded this question because it was kind of lengthy, but in gist, the question was, is there someone advertising the community? Specifically, the question was, is there someone advertising the community to attract more active members in any time zone? If no, would the headrunners of the community want such a person to take on that role? Is it even something wanted at this point in time? There, is there, sorry, is it something that's even wanted at this point in time? Would like attention to this project or not yet? We have been launched for almost 2 years. Um, there was a gap in time where we were down due to some very unfortunate events. Um, but we have been around. The big thing that we've always talked about is quality over quantity. We have Tracky server, we have a CFX post, we have a TikTok. Um, I post on our Twitter. Like, these things exist. It's just, unfortunately, we don't get a lot of movement. And if we do get movement, it's 3 or 4 people at one time, and then we go through a dry period. And that's fine. I'd rather have 10 very active people than 900 people in my Discord and only 2 people getting on. And that's what we were seeing for a long time. Um, about 2 months ago, I did a purge of inactive people in the Discord. And what that did was, if you had not spoken in the Discord within the last 6 months before that purge, then it removed you automatically from the Discord with the message saying that you have been inactive for over 6 months. We would love to have you back. Please feel free to join back. There are many new things happening in the community, and we would love to have you. Some people will join back immediately and start getting into the RP. Some people join back immediately and still haven't spoken. But I don't care about the numbers game. If someone wants to take the opportunity to help advertise the community, I am all for it. And I'm not going to tell someone, no, don't tell people about us. But we have never planned on being the next big Redem server. We never wanted to be WWRP or Wild West RP or Wild or West RP or whatever it is. We never wanted to be that. We have no desire to be that. If we end up being that, that's awesome. But that's not my goal. My goal is not to make money off this server. My goal is not to be, 10,000 members deep or anything like that. My goal of this server has been and will always be story building and connecting with people and building friendships and a sense of community. Has it been considered for some Discord channels to be solidified? I am always condensing down Discord channels because, yes, I know there are a lot. Um, After a certain point, though, I have nothing to condense them down to. I have thought about making only certain channels accessible if you select a role, so then if you don't want to see that channel anymore, you can pop it out. But all of the channels that are currently available for just the everyday whitelisted and unwhitelisted person are channels you guys would need to see. Things like the server status. Inside the Strawberry Welcome channel, there's the rules and the server guides and role grabbing, our tracky server spam. And then inside the important information, it's the announcements, our calendar, which I condensed down the OOC events and the IC events channel into that. The Connect channel, which the Connect channel, I guess I can move into something else. I just don't know where we would put it where it doesn't get buried, because that's one of the only channels that does not get anything else added to it. But I am always working on condensing down Discord channels. Looking ahead, and this is again another question that I had solidified down into one sentence, which was, what is the 6-month to 1 year plan for the server? The actual question says, looking ahead 6 months to a year from now, where do you see this community when it comes down to working on it and providing a unique Red Dead experience? Is it something finite, or is there a bright future ahead of this hobby of yours? Honestly, yes. Like, I consider there to be a bright future ahead of this. If you look at the developer Trello for this Discord and for this server, I have hundreds of projects to go into this server. I am constantly researching and developing. I spend almost a full-time job's worth of time deving this server, working my full-time job on top of that, and then also now deving a 5M server. I spend a lot of time on this server. It may not seem like it, but I do. 6 months to a year from now, I would like to see more active participation in the server. I would like to see some quality of life things fixed, but I have to wait on CFX or script developers to fix it before I can implement it. And ultimately, I just want to see people actually enjoying the server. That's all I care about. So yeah, I mean, we are trying to add unique experiences, and that comes with the MLOs and certain types of RP that we allowed versus other people not allowing, or unique story hooks. CT and I are constantly spearheading a lot of story arcs for people, but we don't want to be the only ones doing that at all. We want you guys to also spearhead certain things and events and story arcs and these in-depth story building activities that so many people in the state can get involved in. So yeah, 6 months to a year from now, I still see this community thriving. We are small, but we are resilient, and we have been a very resilient community for a long time. What is the acceptable approach to bringing up future events and ideas to the server owners? Just bring it up. That's all I ask. Someone at one point had mentioned that they wanted to do a server-wide hide-and-seek event, and we planned it all out, but then we had zero to no active interest from the community, or at least no explicitly enthusiastic representation of wanting to participate. Yes, there was a couple people who participate in every event that wanted to be there, but outside of those few people, there was not a lot of community interest in a hide and seek event. So it didn't happen because I wasn't going to dedicate 4 hours of my day to that when that could be 4 hours spent doing my own story RP because I was going to have to work the event. Um, doing my own RP or doing something in my day to day or napping, like something else. I wasn't going to dedicate that time to no one showing up and then my heart getting broken again because I invest so much into these events. Um, but if you have an idea for an event, just bring it up and then tell us as the owners and staff what you need from us. If you want to do a big hunting trip, but you want to make sure that people have to hunt certain animals, tell us. We can get on those peds and do those things. Or I can spawn in those things. Or we can do things. We just have to be told. And that's what a lot of being a server owner and community members need to understand anymore. And I'm guilty of this too, is it's communication. I can't do anything if I'm not told. And I want you guys to know that you guys can come at any time and tell me things. Yeah, I would prefer not to get a DM at 3 a.m., but if you create a ticket at 3 a.m., I'll see it when I wake up in the morning. Or there might be a staff member who sees it and is like, hell yeah, let's do this, or let me help you, or, something. But communication is key to all of this. Something that was mentioned that wasn't really a question, instructional events addressing all community members for them to participate in, how to RP, learning the numerous menus and emotes for interacting in front with one another and other players. Yes, I'm all for doing education type events. I've done them several times, but again, I can plan an event. I can't force people to be there. It's why the Blackwater Schoolhouse stopped really doing any RP, is because I had a whole calendar of events planned and 2 people showed up. And it's the same 2 people that show up every time. And while that is perfectly fine for me, it makes people feel stagnant because they're like, well, I already know this stuff. I'm not going to come to this event because I already know. So then they start dwindling off. So then the 2 people I had start becoming 1, and then they become none. I want to do educational RP. And I do plan with the new player guide really going in depth about, places of interest, certain ways to RP certain things out. The server guide and FAQ channel and the roleplay guides channel, they both have a wealth of information already in there. And then of course I do the tutorial videos. All these things are at your fingertips. They just have to be utilized. And then one thing that I think was really great to mention, and this was something at the very end of the comment, was it is my personal opinion that there's something really great simmering here. Without any offense, more people in general should actively apply themselves in this to help it push past 0 to 5 players every now and then per week and gain some well-deserved traction. I love that comment because it's the same thing we've been telling people since day one. And it's the same thing that most people, whenever we had sent out the community feedback form a few months back, it was the main thing people said they wished was better about the server was more people. It's not something I can do. I can provide the experience, I can provide the events, I can provide any incentive and all incentives, short of saying I will give you $10 million in person to play my server to make people get on. People don't get on for their own reasons. I don't pry. I don't demand people to tell me why they're not on. There are days when I need a break from the server because I either sat there all day coding or I did a really deep RP and I need a moment. There are some people that divide their time up amongst several different servers here, and that's fine. I will never punish people for being part of several different communities. Um, I wish more people got on the server. CT and I talk about that all the time. It's just not something that happens all the time. Some nights we have 6 to 10 people and it's awesome. And you can feel that energy. And then there are nights when it's just me and CT. And then there are nights when there's no one on the server. Or during the day and there's no one on the server. It is what it is. I wish more people would get on. I wish more people would actively look at the server and see the great things that are happening and take place in the events, because it's a great way to get to know the community and to build these friendships. But at the end of the day, I can't force people on. So that's where I leave that message is, if you want more people on, tell your friends about us. Tell your friends, hey, I found this great community and they have a lot of promise and I want to see them, do something really amazing. So let's do this. Um, I think at the end of the day, that's the only way we're going to get more people is if we, use that word of mouth and we tell our friends, like, hey, get in here with me right now. Because there's only so much I can do. But these were the questions we had. I do want to thank Illither, or I'm going to say Connor Mahoney as your character name, for providing these questions. It does warm my heart to see other people interested in server growth and server health, because a lot of times it is me stressing about it, and then CT stresses about it because I'm stressing about it, and we want to see the community be part of this community. We've always left things open for the community, and this is one of those moments. So I do want to thank you guys for watching. I will see you all at the next community meeting. As it was previously determined in the announcements, our community meeting dates are changing. It'll now be the last Saturday of the month, so we can accommodate people that are awake during the daytime, because that will be like their evening time. If you're not able to make it on the first Saturday of the month, I am more than willing to do an event for the community meeting on the first or the last Friday of the month as well. But if there's not a lot of participation on either of those days, then I will accommodate those days that actually have participation. So as of right now, I will see you all on Saturday, October 29th in our Discord voice chat. Thanks.